It's been a while since I've made one of these videos for the Templars, but I did Who's the Scariest Assassin a few months ago, so it's only right the Templars get their due as well. In case you haven't watched one of these videos from me before, there's a whole lot of them, you should. I only talk about the main Templars of the series, so the big antagonists, or in Shay's case, the protagonists. I'm gonna talk about them, how scary they are, and compare them against each other, and come up with my own personal opinion on who the scariest Templar is and why. Again, this is all my opinion, so feel free to let me know who you think the scariest Templar is in the comments, and feel free to give some suggestions for another category you'd like to see me compare the assassins or Templars on. These videos are a lot of fun, and you guys always have some great suggestions. But the first menace we're going to talk about is the Pope himself, Rodrigo Borgia. Now, in my opinion, Rodrigo is actually quite scary. I love how they sprinkled him throughout AC2 as this mysterious hooded figure, pulling all the strings from behind the scenes. He's responsible for the execution of Ezio's father and brothers. He's Grand Master of the Templars, who's been carefully and strategically planning for decades, rarely ever exposing himself, and he literally becomes the Pope. He has the double life working to perfection, has people who worship him as a savior, and is probably the most powerful man in the world by the end of AC2, and who knows what he could have accomplished if he wasn't thwarted by Ezio. He's not necessarily scary in a physical or combative sense. I mean, he is still an old man after all, but his influence and power is tremendous and made him an extremely elusive and dangerous foe in AC2, making him one of the best contenders for the scariest Templar. Now, his idiotic son, on the other hand, Cesare is like a little kid with a nuke. He's super immature, but also a bit of a moron. However, he has so much power, he could literally conquer the world. That still didn't stop Ezio from making him fly, though. Again, what's scary about Cesare is his influence and power. He has armies at his command, and if he had the apple, he probably would have conquered the world. He's not the ultimate genius or mastermind like his father, but his ambition and kind of psychotic behavior made him just as dangerous. Another good contender for scariest Templar. I personally wouldn't consider Robert de Sable to be the scariest Templar. Don't get me wrong, he's of course intimidating and has a Templar army behind him, but he really wasn't that scary. I'd actually be far more scared of Altair, killing the innocent man at the beginning, leaving no witnesses, succeeding in killing every one of de Sable's underlings, and killing de Sable and about 15 of his men all by himself in a fight. Don't know if that's embarrassing for de Sable or impressive for Altair, but either way, Altair made light work of essentially that entire Templar order. There is nothing scarier than a man who makes his own luck. Hey, wait a minute. I like that. Shay Cormac being the only Templar protagonist to this day makes a very strong case for being the scariest Templar. He's extremely deadly. We've probably never seen any Templar deal as much damage to the assassins as Shay did. And unlike most Templars, he actually succeeded in the end, putting a stop to Achilles and his brotherhood and reviving the Templars in France. I don't think Shay is quite as ruthless as Haytham per se. I think Shay has a bit more of a moral compass, but definitely still not someone I would want to face if I was an assassin. It's hard to fear a villain when the villain is too busy fearing you. I mean, I can't really blame Charles Lee. Connor is a menace, but this is a good lesson, kids. Don't strangle 5-year-olds because they'll grow up seeking vengeance their entire lives and hunt you down to the ends of the earth. Yeah, but seriously though, Charles Lee sealed his own fate by messing with Little Connor, because Little Connor became Big Connor, and Big Connor is a wrecking ball. There's no stopping him. Charles Lee was never really that terrifying in AC3 though. Even when you first meet him as Haytham, he's the very obedient and proper assistant who grows into power and eventually takes over as Grand Master, but he never really got to the same level as Haytham in my opinion. Germain from Unity is kinda meh. I don't think he's scary necessarily, but he's still quite powerful and definitely a mastermind. Kinda like an off-brand Rodrigo, you know? Definitely not the scariest, but he's not quite as bland as some of the others. Terrifying. Terrifying. Just terrifying. Terrifying. Scariest family of the series. Haytham Kenway was one of the first people to pop into my head when I was thinking about the scariest Templars. He's ruthless, always executing any witnesses or people he interrogates, and his polite, proper, gentleman-like way of speaking honestly just makes him even scarier because you know he's a demon. He's probably one of the most dangerous characters in all of AC, and one of the best fighters as well. He only died at the hands of Connor because he let Connor kill him. He could have easily killed Connor so many times. And we all know Connor is a demon as well, so that just speaks to Haytham's immense strength and skill. To be honest, I think even Shay may have been a little bit scared of Haytham in some parts during Rogue. It's really subtle, but you can kind of tell Shay doesn't fully agree with Haytham's methods. The thing with Haytham as well in AC3 specifically is at first you don't find him that scary because you're playing as him. But when he's reintroduced later in the story from Connor's eyes, you're scared of him because you know just how dangerous he is since you were carving up guys left and right with him in the prologue. Haytham is definitely a top contender for Scariest Templar. You see, Crawford Starrick I feel is supposed to be scary and intimidating, but he got slapped up by these two, so I just can't take him seriously. That's embarrassing, brother. You got beaten by the power of family? Crawford Starrick honestly reminds me of a cartoon villain. He had some imposing scenes, but overall, I'll always remember him as the guy who got beaten with the power of love. And villains who lose to things like that are just hard for me to respect. Governor Torres is about as threatening as my grandfather, which means he's deadly. Yeah, no, the only thing scary about Torres is his... well, nothing. Narrowing it down for me, the scariest Templars in the series come down to Rodrigo and Cesare Borgia, Shay Cormac, and Haytham Kenway. Now for me, there's only one answer here, and that's Haytham all day. Like I said, he's ruthless to his enemies, insanely smart, and one of the best fighters in the series, all while having this proper British gentleman appearance, which just makes him even scarier. Second scariest would probably be Rodrigo Borgia because of his sheer influence and decades of pulling strings from the shadows. I feel like he's definitely someone a lot of people may overlook on this list, but I want to put some respect on his name. But again, that's just my opinion. Let me know who you think the scariest Templar is and why in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you considered leaving a like and subscribing to the channel if you're new. And other than that, thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day, Assassins.